Hey guys, it's Daniel. This is gonna be a fun video for you guys. And I'll probably do a part two of this. Been wanting to do this for a while, but I've been just kind of, you know, not wanting to do it. But I'm in a good headspace, so let's do it. I want to talk about how I miss the 1990s, the decade 1990 through 1999. I'm gonna just give you my thoughts, and this will be part one, and I'll probably do a part two and maybe even a part three. So when we get to 1990, I was 3 years old. And when we finished the 90s, which is 1999, I was 12 years old. So being a kid in the 90s was the best. I mean, being a kid in the 1990s was the best. I mean, you know, we had some of the best TV shows. I mean, I'll throw some out there. I mean, we had Family Matters. You had Steve Urkel, which is an iconic character, an iconic show. You had the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. You had Will Smith back when Will Smith was respected and not slapping people and not being an idiot like he is now. But Fresh Prince of Bel Air was just a kick-ass show. Family Matters and Fresh Prince were two of my favorite shows growing up. You know, two black shows that really showcase how family's supposed to operate, how family's supposed to get along. I mean, there'll be disagreements, but how families get along, and how you know black people, you know what black people go through. I mean, both shows talked about racism, racial profiling. You know, they talked about a lot of stuff that black people go through, like being pulled over by the police and, being harassed by the police over some stupid stuff. Both shows, Family Matters and Fresh Prince, talked about these things. And it talked about how hard it is to be black, but you know, you can always be a successful person, whether you're a black person. So those shows were great. I mean, you had another personal favorite of mine, which is Boy Meets World. Another great show. It had all these great characters. I mean, you had this guy, Mr. Feeney, the teacher, one of the best teachers I've seen played on a show, who really cared for his students. I mean, you had Corey Matthews, played by Ben Savage. You had Ryder Strong. You had Daniel Fishel. You had Will Friedle. You had Matthew Lawrence. You had all these great actors. I mean, Boy Meets World is really one of the, and just like Fresh Prince and Family Matters, Boy Meets World is truly one of the greatest TV shows I've ever seen. It started from 1993. It ran till the year 2000. I mean, that was a really kick ass show. It taught you about, you know, how hard life is, how tough it is. It also talked about racism. It talked about racism in one um, of the earlier shows. It talked about how bad drinking is. It talked about, it just talked about a lot of varieties of topics. I mean, it was a fun show. There was, as always, there was always some silly shows here and there on Boy Meets World, but for the most part, a lot of the Boy Meets World shows, touched on a lot of topics that TV shows don't talk about today. TV shows don't touch on today. They don't touch on, you know, about how bad drinking is. They don't touch on topics about how bad this life is and how hard it is, you know. And it also taught you about how to love yourself. There was one particular episode that I like where Sean was trying to join a cult, and that episode was basically teaching you that you don't need a cult or these people to love yourself. All you got to do is for you to love yourself. You don't have to be in a cult and hug people, to you know have people love you. You have to love yourself, and you have to know that you're a good person, you know, and you don't need a cult, and you don't need to be around people to love you like that. So Boy Meets World, Fresh Prince, A Bel Air, and Family Matters are three of my favorite shows of all time. I have all of them on DVD. You know, back in the '90s, we didn't have the violence that we have now. I mean, today is like every few days there's a shooting. There's always a shooting somewhere. I mean, back in the '90s, you would have some shootings here and there. I mean, I'm not saying that the '90s was perfect by any means. The '90s was not perfect by any means, but at least the '90s was peaceful in the sense where you woke up. You had you had a sense of peace, like everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be fine. Not just how the peace. That's just the peace that you had in the '90s. Despite all the violence and all the stuff that happened in the '90s, it wasn't to the excessiveness that it is now, where you turn on the TV and there's always violence. There's always a shooting. I mean, there's always. I mean, just recently there was a stabbing at a Walmart. This guy just went and just stabbed 11 people. Just a random stabbing. I mean, back in the '90s, Walmart was the place to go. Walmart was like the best place to go. The '90s, Walmart, you would never hear that kind of violence at a Walmart. You wouldn't. You wouldn't hear that kind of stuff at a Walmart or at any place for that matter. Walmart was a fun place to go. Now that I heard that story, I don't even feel like even going to Walmart. I probably just shop on Walmart online. So the '90s was just it was a better time than where we are now, man. Especially when you were a kid, and even when you were an adult, because the cost of living was less. The cost of living was less in the '90s. The cost of living was less in the '90s. You can work just one job, and you can have a shitload of money to yourself. You didn't have to work two, three, four jobs like you do now. You didn't have to. You can work just one job, folks. You could work one job in the '90s, just one simple job. And yeah, of course, you would have to pay the rent and the bills and so forth, but you would have money to yourself to, buy something for yourself, have some fun, and live good back then. So the cost of living was way, way less than it is now. And the '90s was just, it was a peaceful time, man. It was a peaceful time. We had less violence, even though there was violence. You know, I just really missed the decade, and I wish I can go back, man. They always say you don't know what you had till it's gone. Yeah, when we left the '90s, you know, we didn't know what we had till it was gone. You know, people were less angry back then. People were more happier. You go on the street, people were more happy. People got along more in the '90s. Everybody now is upset. Nobody gets along. You know, there's all this, there's all these shootings, there's all this violence, and it doesn't make no sense to me anymore. This life doesn't make no sense to me. But in the '90s, it did make sense. It did make sense. Maybe it's because I was a kid and I was stupid and I didn't know the stuff that I did now, and I'm not, and I surely wasn't a critical thinker or a thinker at all like I was now. So this is going to be part one. The '90s was such a good decade. I mean, I can't just put it all in one video. So probably in the next day or two, I'll come back with part two. But yeah, the '90s was the best time. The '90s was the best time for me. I was just a happy kid, just playing video games, you know, and just watching great TV shows like the shows that I mentioned. Eating cereal, eating pizza. I mean, it was just the '90s was just the best time, especially like I said, when you were a kid. I was 3 to 12 years old, so I was a kid all throughout the '90s. You know, so this is a part one, folks, of how I love and I miss the '90s. So like and comment and give me your favorite moments from the '90s, and tell me what you miss about the '90s. And I will be back with part two in a day or two. Take care, folks.